podcast immediately.
Hello, and welcome to episode 166 of the Nerds at Large Gaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darby Hallman.
I'm Jeff Mayo.
Jeff, it's Cyberpunk week, man.
Cyberpunk.
Four days, right? 4 days away.
But we're a week until you can play it.
Yeah. This is sad, but in theory, in principle, it will be on my machine waiting for me as I have to sit here and talk to people and do a live stream and stuff and see all these other games that are not Cyberpunk that I'm supposed to be excited for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. This Thursday is Cyberpunk Day, but it's also Game Awards Day. And twitch.tv/nerds@largegaming, where you're potentially watching this right now. You're not, because there's no one watching right now.
Losers.
I've been trying to take a sip of tea for the whole time.
Don't let him do that.
We will be streaming. I'll be mad. I'm just going to make it the worst experience for anyone watching just out of bitterness because I can't play Cyberpunk. Where's your hype level for both of those things?
Obviously, extremely hyped for Cyberpunk. I'm curious. It's a weird thing where I want to see those kind of reviews or vague stuff from reviews to get me excited. But don't go too deep in. Obviously, don't go too deep in spoiler stuff. But it's sounding like a lot of people aren't getting the game.
Yeah,
like kind of funny. Made it sound like they don't have the game.
For instance, and they I don't remember any major game that they haven't got. So if they don't have it, I imagine not many people at all have it.
I saw something about people getting it on Wednesday.
Weird.
Then it's like, I guess there's no review embargo.
Do you think this is just the game's coming in too hot type of deal?
because it went gold. I imagine a lot of the stuff that they worked on is just going to be a day one patch.
Yeah. Probably the fact that you got delayed after going gold, I imagine if you don't have that day one patch, you might be having some severe issues,
especially if you're on the last gen now consoles.
I really do think this game might be what Dragon Age Inquisition was for me back then with the PS3 versus PS4. Obviously it's not going to be that severe, but I think this is going to be something where you might have a significantly worse experience on old gen consoles versus new, or a PC.
But to answer your question, as far as Game Awards, I'm excited. I think this one's going to be better as far as announcements go compared to last year, because I think last year we kind of said, to give Jeff the benefit of the doubt and everything, that it was just a weird time where next gen was about to happen, so everyone was holding their cards really close to their chest.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting it better as far as that goes. He's hyping up a bunch of next gen announcements, which we haven't seen too many other next gen games. So even if we see ones that we've seen before, like Ratchet or something, or Horizons, okay, I'm okay with that as well.
Yes. Yeah, which I expect to at least see Ratchet.
Yeah, and especially since people had less actual events this year, I think there's reason to believe potentially we just more of the bigger developers show up here.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. When he says that, does he mean next gen exclusive games? And I imagine most of the next gen exclusive games are going to be just Sony and Microsoft first party, because I feel like not a ton of third parties are going to want to exclude themselves to just the next gen right away.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to his statement includes cross-gen games for sure.
Yeah,
but probably some next-gen exclusive stuff. But I'm assuming his general statement.
Yeah, and it's not like sometimes we get announcements at the Game Awards that we don't see for 3 years afterwards. So it's not
still waiting on Bayonetta.
Not necessarily an imminent thing just because it's announced here. I'm excited too. I have slightly tempered expectations, but I do think in general he's more likely to have bigger announcements at this one than he was last year, just because, like you said, everyone was holding their cards way close to their chest last year, whereas now it's now's the time. Next gen hype is at a fever pitch. There's so many people want these consoles and can't get them, and it's now's the time to be look at all this stuff.
Yeah, and just everyone just wants some game announcements and stuff at this point, and Game Awards keep on breaking kind of viewing records year after year, so developers are going to be more hey Jeff, put our stuff in here.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could have definitely said that previous years, but again, last year seemed to be a weird one.
Yeah, I have a little more confidence in that as far as that goes, and just the show itself. Like, I really don't know exactly what to expect with the whole like split, places and everything. I could feel it having more fat or less fat. I don't know. I feel like you can make arguments either way, but yeah. We shall see. So me and Jeff will definitely be on that stream. Potentially Jacob and Will. Some combination.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
How late into the main show? I could be up to an hour, which will sucks.
Big bummer. Maybe I'll have you there. Maybe we can like pull it over and like show you something if there's something you really missed. That would be a big surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, with that out of the way, Jeff, let's get into what we've been playing this week. And I, for the first time in a long time, have something new to bring to the table.
I don't believe you.
Hey, I'm doing it. I'm playing video games. I'm pulling my weight.
Wait. We're supposed to play them?
Oh, Jeff. He's just been listening to them the whole time.
Like,
He just closes his eyes and hears the sounds. He actually beat all of Hyrule Warriors. Just his ears.
Yeah.
Just listening.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, you just you just mash buttons and hear like Link scream a bunch of stuff. Yeah. You're fine. You'll be fine in that game. Well, no, I haven't been playing Hyrule Warriors, but I have been playing a kind of surprise game that just came out and that I really wasn't expecting to dive into. But I'm like, I have a week before Cyberpunk. I can maybe finish this. I'm playing Havens.
Whoop whoop. I forgot. I think we knew it was coming out about now, but I can't remember like when it was actually announced.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot what there was another game that was announced a while ago on an Xbox thing that's kind of in the same way as Haven, but we haven't seen it as nearly as much. I'm gonna try to look it up.
Okay.
I know it's one we were both like interested in.
Okay. Or you're not talking about the Pathless or anything like that?
No.
No. Or yeah, and that was Sony. That was obviously whatever. But Haven, me and Jeff played a little bit of the demo, or we played the whole demo back when that was part of like.
I don't think we played the whole one. I think we were like, okay, we get the idea. We moved on because just quick thing. They're doing that thing again. I wouldn't mind doing another stream like that.
Okay, yeah, sweet. Yeah, that was for Jeff's thing. Right?
Yes, and he is doing that again. So I'm up for doing that again.
Yeah, we played some of it back then, and obviously Haven has been in like every single showcase on Earth this year. It's wild. So I've had like I've been interested in this game, but I wasn't like it wasn't like a definite day one thing for me. But I just pulled up Game Pass because I've been looking for something to play just before Cyberpunk, and nothing's really been really gripping me. I tried to play a little bit more of Hades, and like I love Hades, but like that, like I'm just getting so tired of fighting the same bosses over and over again. Yeah. It's a me problem. It's not a Hades problem. It's a me problem. So I bounced off of that. I'm like, I don't really want to play that. And I went on Game Pass and I saw that Haven was there. And I was like, huh. And I looked into IGN review and they said 15 hours. I'm like, okay, that's doable. And
yeah.
I jumped in. And I think I'm like 8 hours in, and I think I've gotten to the point where I can say I think I love this game.
Awesome.
I'm really surprised by just how like this is the first game in a while where like I am going to get to the end of this game.
Nice.
Like even if the gameplay just completely drops off the face of the earth, I'm so invested in the characters and the story. There's no way I don't finish
it kind of sounds like even like, yeah, you do get a little off the gameplay. That seems to be a case. What I've, little read of reviews is the gameplay got a little tedious, at least towards the end, but the story was enough to, get people across that finish line.
Yeah, and I that's where I'm at, and that's where I can totally see the gameplay. Like the premise of the story is that there's two like younger people, a man and a woman who like
young lovers.
Yeah, who are like young lovers. There's big romance like teen drama energy in here that is not going to be for everyone, and I'll get more into that later. But they've basically like fled this sort of like space like
colony thing.
Area that you don't really know much about. You never see it, but you just kind of like, and it's one of those, they definitely throw you into the story like in the middle of it, and they don't explain things immediately, and you like slowly learn more about where they came from just from them talking to each other organically. I think the drip feed of their backstory was really, really well done, because you learn just enough to where I'm like, oh, okay, this is more sci-fi than I was expecting, because they're like, apparently this organization is pretty like tyrannical in some ways, where it's like very rigid rules and all these things, and I'm like, okay, this is a little more than I was like expecting. And at times it's like, yeah, teenagers rebelling against like the man sometimes or whatever. And there's other times where I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of fucked up. It's like, I understand why they're running away. But it's very focused on they're like landed on this deserted planet, and it's just them going through their like daily lives or whatever. And like, obviously, again, it goes very deep into their romance and just the day-to-day of being in a relationship, the like fights, the good moments, the sexual tension, lots of sexual tension.
Fuck.
And it's a very much like focused on them. It's like a character like study, like character like just daily life sim thing. But then like it'll throw in elements of like sci-fi, like things are happening here and there in a really cool drip feed of information. So I'll get to the gameplay first, which I think is definitely Haven's weakest point. The gameplay is mostly you are like traveling around this planet, and there's different like areas, and then there's like bridges that go off from those areas to another one. So you're just like, you end up having this big grid of areas that you're like exploring. I mean, every area is pretty different, even though it's like similar terrain. And you kind of are like just clearing out this thing. There's this stuff called rust, which is basically just bad sci-fi stuff. It's like bad sci-fi material. It's this red like ooze thing.
Evil rock.
Yes, the evil sci-fi rock that's like, it takes over like the local animals' heads and stuff, and that's what you have to fight the animals to get them clean. And then when you like cure them or whatever, you can pet every single animal.
Nice.
So it is.
All right, so it's a 10 automatically.
It's game of the year.
Yeah, okay, good.
I have taken a screenshot of every single animal that I've petted, so I'm just gonna like post all those on Twitter or something. Just like my giant array of
collage of pets.
Oh, it's great. They're pretty adorable. And you have there's this one animal that you like, the first one that you like help is like right beside your ship. So they're like you keep him as a pet, and they named him Oink. So like every time you come home to your ship, Oink just comes up for pets. And it's like, yes, of course. Of course we have. I pet him every single time I come home. But yeah, generally you are like clearing out these areas, and you're doing turn-based combat when you fight people. Okay. The turn-based combat is kind of interesting. It's simple, but it's like you have both of the characters, and you control both of their actions at the same time with the two different sticks. So
I think you can do co-op with this, if I'm mistaken.
Yes, which that I've heard that is an interesting experience, and I think it would make it a harder experience. But there would definitely, I think that would be good for an actual couple to do that, because you'd have to be like, okay, you do this while I do this. Okay, I'm going to do this while you do this, because the combat is interesting. You have two different types of attacks, and different types of attacks will do more damage to certain enemies. And when you do damage to an enemy, you get them all the way down. It's basically like a stagger thing where they're staggered, and then you have to like purify them when they're staggered, and that takes the rust off.
How do you purify them?
It just up on the thing. You
just okay. And there's a special thing they did. Like
you showed them a bunch of Hallmark movies.
Oh fuck! The ultimate purifier.
But the stagger thing when they're laying on the ground only lasts for a few seconds, so you have to kind of attack with one and already have the other one queued up to do it, so it's a timing thing.
Okay.
It's like you get in the rhythm of attack and then boom, attack and then boom.
Okay, so that's why it could be difficult if you have two people.
Yes, because you'd have to be like, no, you did it too early, no, you did it too late, and I could totally see how that could be a fun experience. Like you would end up mad at each other at first, but then eventually you would kind of just learn, you know what.
Hand it to your sister and her husband.
End up screaming at each other, probably. It's like, damn it, I ended their marriage with this game.
Damn.
That would be a little severe. But yeah, so that whole resource management, you're also like gathering food and stuff that you can use to cook, and you do have a hunger meter.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
The hunger meter, the only thing I've noticed that it does in game, it makes your attacks slower. But it's one of they like comment on it and everything, and it's just one of those like you're just in a rhythm, and like it makes sense that you go home and then you cook the things that you got out there, you eat and you go or whatever. It's like the whole like life sim aspect of it works in that way. So that those three things, the gathering food, clearing the rust, and attacking enemies, that's largely the gameplay.
Okay.
And so far I am still enjoying all three of those things. Like almost exclusively because the story is really good and engaging, and the pacing is really, really nice. Like there's, at least the way that I'm playing this game, there's never more than like a 5-minute tops gap before I get new dialogue of like a new interaction between those two. Whether it's just like fluff interaction in a good way, fluff, like, you know, building their like characters or whatever, or it's a story thing. It's like it's constantly moving. So even though I'm just clearing out the same things over and over again, it hasn't gotten to me yet. Mm-hmm. I can totally see. I saw an IGN review. It was like 15 hours. I think I'm 8 hours in. I can see how by the time you get to the end of that 15 hours, you might be pretty done with the whole
resource gathering and all that kind of stuff.
But again, I don't see, because the pacing has been so good for 8 hours, I don't see that part of it like going down. And I am still like so interested in the story, and like I've already just like I've fallen in love with these characters because like they're very, very well voice acted and written. You know, it reminds you. Yeah,
what I was saying, I mean, we got a little taste of it, but we kind of got that sense from the demo we played.
Yeah.
When was that, man? It feels like so long ago. When
it was in like June or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It was. And we were both like, you know, optimistic about how this game turned out, and
it's even better. Yeah. It's even better, than
which is great.
Yeah,
I want to get to this game at some point.
It got to the point where like recently they got in like a big fight or whatever, and it's like I felt it. I was like, okay, I want y'all to get back together, please. I was like, because like you like wake up and you're like, then you're only controlling you're only controlling the guy like the morning after, and like you try to do a lot of things, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. She always does this. It's like she like I try to pull up the radar thing. It's like she has the radar. Damn it. Nice. It's like it's really good because you get in such a habit of doing all these things, and then suddenly when you're the one person, you can't do all of them, and
nice.
it works. It works really well story wise. And like I said, I mean, it's no surprise, but the people that you left are hunting you. Like you figure out they're hunting you like halfway through the story, and that whole like arc is getting very interesting, and I have no clue where it's going. So it's really, really cool. And just the mobility in this game has still not gotten old. You're basically like a Super Saiyan. You're like flying around. You can like ride on these like little like trails that you have to like stay on, and you can like fly up in the air and do all this crazy stuff. Like the mobility is really fun. There's just like little things that's very obvious it's an indie game, like the little obnoxious things, like the fact that you can fly and you can walk, but like the walk speed is like painfully slow. So like if you're trying to just get to something and you fly right past it, and then you try to just like, I'm just gonna try to walk towards it, it's like insanely slow. So then you try to fly again, you fly past it again. Yeah. It's like you can either go Sonic fast or like snail pace slow.
Supersonic speed.
There's no in between. It's really annoying. And then the other like biggest annoying factor is the game does not tell you when it saves. And there's been a few times where like I did all this stuff on the ship, bought all this made all this food, made these healing items, did all this stuff or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I did all that. I'm gonna sign off for the day, like, whatever. I get in the next morning, and it took it from the beginning before I did any of that. Like when I walked into the ship, I'm like, God damn it. There's no save option. Like you have to like go to another area and then auto save. It's just that was overlooked. It was obviously just overlooked by the team, but. It's a weird game to recommend. I think you have to be in for the cheesy romance story. You do, but it's not even like there's some cheesy romance stories that I even like. They're like, no, this is just bad. I just like it anyway. This is like it's really well written, and I think that you might be surprised that you like this game if you're someone else.
Yeah. For the note, we probably said it on Game Pass.
On Game Pass, which is what I'm playing it on. Yeah, I'm probably about to. I canceled my auto renew for Game Pass, so I do have to beat this by the 13th unless I reinstate that. But
the game I was thinking of was Call of the Sea.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
It was
is it some ocean thing?
Yeah, you're a girl solving some mystery on an island or something. I forget the exact premise of it, but I remember when it was announced on Microsoft's thing back in May. I think we were interested in it.
Okay.
We were like, okay, this looks neat. And yeah, it's now out or coming out or whatever. A lot of good stuff added to Game Pass.
Yeah, Dragon Quest just got added there.
Yep.
Didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Controls there on consoles. Ukulele and the Possible Layers on there. That's a good one.
Jeff talked about that on the podcast. Was that this year?
That was last year.
That was last year. Okay.
Greedfall's on there.
Yeah.
If you ever want
That's a good Game Pass game. Yeah,
yep.
That's good.
A lot of other good shit. Super Hot Mind Control Delete's on there. Should probably try that.
Nice. Well, yep, I will definitely talk about Haven more when I finish it. I'm going to try desperately to beat it before Cyberpunk. But again, it's one of those that even if I have to play it a little bit during Cyberpunk, I'm going to beat this game. Yeah. So it's like it's a nice chill game to play.
Well, I mean, depending on it, it might feel agonizing to do. But let's say hypothetically, you get back on Friday and enough time to play. It might be like, okay, I have a little time to do Haven stuff, but not get into Cyberpunk.
Right. I mean, I think this could be a good like lower investment. Like I don't have to sit here for a long time to do this. And yeah, I think you would like this. I can recommend this game to you. There's other people I'd have to be like, all right, let me assess. Like, let me ask you some questions first because. It's like it's gonna be too teen romance for some people. You gotta be a sucker for that kind of thing.
That's good.
But this is on my game of the year list. It's up there. It's gonna be interesting. This versus Ori versus Shantae versus Hades battle for me is gonna be very interesting. I honestly don't know where it's gonna shake out. We'll see.
All right, Darby. It's time to talk about the Musos.
It comes for all of us, you know.
Yeah,
the Muso tax comes due.
Yeah. So yeah, played more of that Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Should have mentioned before how spoilery do we want to get for this?
Man, I say all the way because I want to know, and this is how I would rather find out than.
Okay, spoilers for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity up to a point. I'm not like completely down with the game, but. I mean, a big plot. Probably what I would consider was probably going to be the big plot twist of the game.
Yeah.
Will be talked about.
Use the timestamps if you don't know. Yeah.
Darby, time travel. There we go. Moving on. So we knew there was going to be time travel in this game, obviously, from the demo at the very beginning of the game with the little egg guardian.
There was actual time travel used at the very beginning of this game.
Yeah, so naturally everyone had little concerns like, okay, what does this mean? Is this going... And I think it was fair at the time to be like, okay, could this just be used to do some mechanic shit, which I think is part of probably some of their justification.
But we all knew it wouldn't stop there. Yeah, we all knew.
So yeah, the champions of the present timeline from Breath of the Wild, the new ones you meet, they come back in time when the old champions are about to get killed by the Blights and save their asses.
And changing fate. And Sephiroth comes in there.
Sephiroth.
The plot goes.
No plot ghosts, though. No plot ghosts.
No plot ghosts.
None of that.
That you can see.
Oh. They're doing a horrible job.
They're doing a bad job.
Everything's completely different. Everyone's still
Everything's
alive. So, yeah. Got those new champions in here, all that kind of stuff. The story's obviously going to be different. This isn't at least the timeline of the original Breath of the Wild, for sure.
Yeah.
These champions might come from that timeline, but they are not.
Correct.
This is not the timeline. You will not see what we would consider the canon ending of the Calamity.
No, certainly not. You're gonna have your normal heroic Dynasty Warriors type of thing.
Yeah. They're all probably going to unite and everything. Probably some of the bad guys,
like the Power Rangers thing. They're all gonna Rivali is like the arm, and Boss is the leg.
There you go. And it's very painful for them.
so painful.
The dock and we gotta dock. I don't know why. Why'd I sign on for this? You know.
Let me die.
They could have just combined the Divine Beast, but that's too easy.
No, too easy. So, what are your feelings on this development of things? Is that basically where it's left off? Is they came and helped there, and now you're taking the fight to Ganon or something?
Kind of, yeah. And the stuff that I've done at this point is just kind of other battles or whatever, and saving people, and nothing like something else crazy or whatever. Just kind of continuing off of that. I'm kind of two minds of it in a way, of where it is definitely a bummer and a missed opportunity to change it and not make this the canon ending, because honestly, the story, I think, is told well in this, especially even for just a Zelda game in general, just the way the cutscenes are and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think they're well done. The way the story is being told is well done. So you can't help but think how it could have been, how good it could have been if it was just the canon thing. Yeah. And some of the stuff you've seen, if it is, you're doing these battles and it is Link going to die at the end, or all these champions, or or as we saw in the cutscenes in Breath of the Wild, Link's final stand could have been really epic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we might have something similar. Who the hell knows? But that's definitely a missed opportunity. But not to say the story on its own is fun. Just obviously different than we thought with the time travel stuff. It's kind of more a typical, I guess, kind of shonen thing where the heroes save the day and all these last minute things. And from a gameplay perspective, I say it's a plus for it. Just from this perspective, you got all these new characters to play in the actual story. And so far, I haven't messed around them too much, but they're really fun.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends how you look at it. Because reading some impressions for this, a lot of people, I'm actually surprised the amount of people that were A-okay with this change. There are definitely some people that are disappointed, but a lot of people who played the game, I even saw some I hated when I read these changes, I hated it. But then I played it and okay, I love this shit. So it's just kind of a way of how it's told, kind of them going into it knowing it's happening, and then the way it was told kind of got people more on board for what it is than what it isn't. And I think I was probably going to like it either way, but I think what did help is going in and this probably is what's going to happen.
In a weird way, I feel like you're going to have a better time in this game if you get spoiled immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong? I think you're better off knowing that you're not going into this getting actual experience.
And I guess part of the reason I agree with you why we just go ahead and do these spoilers is there are going to be plenty of people that don't care, that don't like Musos going into this game wanting to buy this game because of the story. And if it's not that canon thing they thought, they fairly thought it was, right? I understand why that would turn people off the game instantly.
I think Nintendo's marketing in this is a whole other conversation, but not necessarily the one we need to have right now, because I want to talk about the actual game. That's just my laptop being weird. My laptop's on the fritz. It's on its last legs. Obviously, I'm the super negative Nancy when it comes to Musos in general, and this game, I just wasn't interested in this game anyway.
Muso and time travel.
Right. That's at least I already, even thinking that the story was going to be the thing we thought it was, it still wasn't enough to make me play it play this Muso game, and then the fact that it's like now it's just like the double whammy of like, yep, okay, ship it, but no, I don't need to be a part of it.
No, odds are, if it was what we thought, what I would have done after seeing what's available is once I'm done, we do a stream where you just watch cutscenes.
Yep, that'd be fine with that. Yeah, that'd be fine with that. Yeah, I just want to address a few things. I think just from the outside, I've seen a lot of people say like, "Oh, but they couldn't do it the actual ending of it because why would you just have this like sad ending or whatever?" And like you brought up like gameplay stuff, like how would it work if you all just lose or whatever in the final battle? I push back on that because I just think that's just a lack of creativity. I think there is a way to make the tragic story and find like triumph within the tragedy. I brought up like Rogue One. It's like I know it's a movie, but like that's like one of my prime examples of like we all knew how that movie was going to end, and we all knew it was going to end bad, and they were all going to die and everything. Yeah. But the way that they like told that at the end, like all of those characters got such a arc and got such a like hurrah at the end that it made it like it was bittersweet, but you felt like it was like yes, like there was. I don't know. There was something.
Well, my whole thing was, I think they like I said, they could do this in being the bad end and that being fine. That wasn't the thing. What I was saying is like, and I would mention, a little earlier, Link's final battle as is depicted in the Breath of the Wild cutscenes would have been, I think, could have been really well done. Yeah, it's less of that, and with the 4 champions losing, I could see that kind of getting just a little repetitive. That's not an excuse for what they did. Yeah. That's just I could have seen in the parallel world where they just straight up did that. Those kind of fights getting boring because it's 4 fights against the Blights where you just either it's impossible to win or you win in game but lose in the cutscene. Yep. Just doing that 4 times in a row could have get a little. I mean,
I push back and say like you don't even necessarily have to have those 4 things playable. You could have like Link's part playable or something. You could find a way to like tell the story. It's not like everything that happens in the game is always in game. It's like some things can be done in cutscenes. You can do other like. I'm not saying it's the easiest question in the world to answer, but I'm saying it would be a more interesting video game if they tried to tackle those questions, tackle that scenario rather than. I mean, this is the easy way out, which is fine. It's a Hyrule Warriors fun Muso game, but again, that's just not what we thought it was going to be, which is a bummer. But yeah, I feel like I've kind of got a lot of it out of my system talking to you. I feel like I have too strong of opinions on this game for a game that I had zero interest in playing and I'm never ever going to play. But it is connected to one of my favorite games of all time. So. Yeah, it was a little there, a little there.
Yeah, but gameplay's been really interesting. It's definitely definitely a situation where the main mission stuff is a lot more fun and interesting and exciting than the side quests. The side quests are fun enough because I do just enjoy playing this game with the different characters and switching between them and all that stuff. And there's definitely some that are just better than others. But again, part of the reason why I don't know how I'll feel at the end of this game as far as the whole them changing everything, because I get to those story missions and some of those cutscenes and the stuff that happens. Like, this is just awesome. This is just this war that's happening in Hyrule with this land and this environment you grow to love through Breath of the Wild, and to a varying degree these characters you grown to love but didn't have much time with them. Yeah. Getting to spend those time with them, and just the way the battles are kind of shown off at these big epic things that we only really kind of saw in cutscenes are really great. Yeah. But you feel it pulls you back a little bit when okay, this isn't exactly what we saw and it's going to go different than how we thought. But just the presentation of it all is really well done.
Yeah, I think like we were saying when we thought this was going to be just a straight telling of it, the Muso game is actually a pretty good avenue to tell this scale war. This big battle like that. So I mean, yeah, it's like I'm glad you got to see some of those things like realized in there. It's just weird because it also seems like it was mostly the story you would expect until the end.
So like if we're gonna do like a timeline as far as from the beginning of what this game would be till the original timeline where everything goes to shit, and the timeline for Hyrule Warriors, pretty much the original Breath of the Wild Calamity thing would have stopped at the point where time travel happened. A little after that to do a little Link stuff, but it would have pretty much stopped there. This is kind of like extending it and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's literally them changing at the last second of the original story.
Right. Which I did listen to a little bit of the of Easy Allies spoiler mode thing, whatever of this. Cause I just wanted to know kind of how the story ended or whatever, but I didn't listen to a ton of it. But like Damiani brought up like interesting. I think it was Damiani brought up the points, interesting points that like ways that they could make this into a cool thing is if this is like a branching off point for a new like Zelda timelines, new different things or whatever, and if like they take in a future game down the line or something, take like the Hyrule Warriors version of this timeline or whatever, and like go 100 years, go like what is it like then if it's like the Chica whatever people never were the Chica people they were even further back from this game, weren't they, or were they? And there
are Sheikah in this,
yeah. So it's like
Sheikah and Yiga are.
What if you have a timeline where technology was never halted like that? So you go 100 years from here, and you actually have like a futuristic Zelda or something, some shit like that.
That'd definitely be interesting. Like
I highly doubt it. I think this is just going to be a thing that's just like it was a fun thing that Nintendo didn't oversee very much, and that it'll just be what it is. But that would be my guess.
Or potentially they oversaw too much and like we can't have Link die in the end of a game.
Potentially.
Either way, it's one of those things I could see. Like if it came out, it was either way, a Koei Tecmo thing or a Nintendo thing. I'd be like, I believe you.
Yeah, there's you could sell me either way.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting if they did just a branching timeline thing, depending on how they did it. Like, I don't know if they would do. I don't think I haven't listened to that spoiler mode, obviously, because I haven't finished the game. I'm going to when I finish it. But I doubt they do like a mainline game based off this timeline, because it is technically a spinoff. And it's a weird thing, but it might influence it. It is published by Koei Tecmo in Japan, which may seem like that might be nothing. But a weird thing is, and again, this is something to like in Smash, there's like no reference to Hyrule Warriors in that game. Like they're all these spirits.
Not even Linkle?
No, there's like nothing referencing Hyrule Warriors, which might mean nothing, but at the same time, these companies can be weird.
Do they reference the other like Zelda spin-offs and stuff? Like Oracle of Seasons or whatever?
Yes.
Freaking
Darling, put it this way. Took Mirage Sessions is referenced in there.
Is Link's crossbow training in there?
Probably. That's a Nintendo published game everywhere.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah. Interesting.
So, I don't know where this goes. There's a question: is this kind of canon because of the dual time? Like this is not the first time that Zelda has obviously dealt with time travel and branching timelines and stuff. And it might be canon in the sense that Persona spinoffs are canon. Like Dancing All Night is canon.
And my prediction is it's going to be canon in the sense that I think that the characters from Breath of the Wild that you interact with, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the characters from Breath of the Wild that you're playing through or whatever actually did this.
Yeah,
like,
as far as like
the Sidon or whatever, he actually went back and did this in this timeline.
I mean, they could easily say that unless Sidon fucking dies in the end. I don't know. That'd be an interesting twist. And Mifa's all sad. But I expect they could say it's canon, because if they just have them go back and they don't reference it can still be canon. But if there is any indication this happened, I expect a quick line from like Sidon or something, and that just be the end of it.
Huge.
Like, even I've seen some people even after knowing the twist, like, oh, how this might influence Breath of the Wild too. It's like, it's not.
Yeah. I would be a little surprised if there's not some nod to be like, hey, it happened, wink wink. Yeah. But I think that's about all you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that will be enough to be like, okay, well, when I'm talking to these characters, this is an experience that they had, that they went back in time and did all this shit. But it would also be like, hey, why didn't you mention this? Like, it's a pretty wacky, wild thing that you just did.
Yeah.
You also apparently have access to time travel, but never told us about this.
Yeah. Well, this is the egg that did the time traveling.
Someone said they need to secure the egg, Jeff.
Yeah.
The egg is powerful.
The all-powerful egg. We must protect.
We must protect. All right. Well, anything else? We probably need to move on.
I believe that was all. I'll actually talk about more once I have finished that game, which, yeah, hopefully, like Darby would hate that I finished that before Cyberpunk this week.
Trying real hard. I'm going to be playing it every night.
Yep, I might do a little more streamlining than I thought just to get done with it. And I can just go back to side missions later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Jeff, why don't you give me a news jingle?
Jingle, jingle, jingle. Darby, I hear you like the Musos.
Love them. Can't get enough of them.
Yep, ignore the conversation we just had.
Yeah. Well, someone might have skipped the timestamp. So for all they know, I am the biggest Muso fan of the world.
It's true.
I am Mr. Muso.
Yeah, so Darby, we finally got it. We finally got confirmation about when Persona.
Phoenix Wright Muso.
Finally! I mean, really, give it to me. I'll take it.
He's throwing papers, like court papers all over the place.
That's everyone's moveset.
Yeah, everyone's moveset is just throwing court.
But they say funny lines, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
But no, Darby, we finally got the Western release date and confirmation, I guess, about it in general. I don't know. We're Persona 5 Strikers.
I think it's Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers, but you keep ignoring Scramble.
It's just Strikers in the West. It said so on the trailer.
Thank God. Get Scramble out of here. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm not the one ignoring him. It's Atlas.
Okay, well, that's fine. Whatever. The East can have their Scramble.
Scrambled eggs. We have our Striker eggs over here.
Yes.
They're cop eggs like Striker from Mortal Kombat. Sometimes our bits go way too long.
That's what cops call their eggs.
Yep. Yeah. So it will be launching on February 23rd, 2021 for PS4, Nintendo Switch, and Steam.
The trailer kind of did it like it was a big reveal.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing for people who don't know. This leaked in the middle of the night, like at 1 a.m. Eastern time, a couple of days ago. It was obviously not supposed to be released because I saw it when it first leaked. The title of the video was literally announcement. So that wasn't supposed to happen. And just the way that ending thing happened with Steam and just the timing of it all. And Imran Khan, for example, said, hey, this is supposed to come out next week or something to that effect. People immediately thought, including me, thought Game Awards. Yeah. This was supposed to be an announcement there, and that would make sense.
No, absolutely.
But since then, Atlas West has announced that they were pretty much that this is going to be announced December 8th. Yeah. 2 days before the Game Awards, and who knows? They might have just done that because it leaked, but it still doesn't make. I mean, that'd be weird anyway. Whatever.
It'd be weird. Either way, we're obviously seeing at the very least this trailer that we've already seen.
Yep. Well. And
it's legit.
Yeah. Well, the main thing that affects if it's Game Awards or not is the bets.
Yeah, which is big freaking bummer. I'm the one that went to like freaking 72 or whatever I did for number of kills in that bet, and this would have helped me a whole lot. Yeah. So I might have gotten half of that in one trailer.
Yep. So yeah, we got this trailer. Got to hear some of that sweet English voice acting and stuff. That stuff's done. That stuff's in there. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. That would be a game. It would be a big bummer if I didn't get the English cast. Yeah. I've spent so much time with that English cast. That would be.
I mean, that's the main reason it's probably taking so long.
Probably. Yeah.
Because this is coming out almost exactly a year after the Japan release.
Yeah, which is a bummer. But again, I would rather have that English voice cast. They're all just very good. And I mean, it's the same thing we saw from the other trailers before, but I think it's maybe just highlighted even more how much of a Persona story this looks like. You see like the different, what looks like different palace-esque things and different, like you can see people that like, oh, that looks like that's probably like one of the early bosses, and then like, like it looks like the real deal.
Yeah.
How much it ends up being the real deal, we'll see, or whatever, and how much of a Muso game it ends up being, which is the very big key for me, because I just...
Again, it depends how much, and this is me just reading impressions from a bunch of people who have played the demo / the actual game.
Yep.
I heard so much more compared to like Hyrule Warriors and stuff. This is more of an action RPG, leans more on that side of it. Yeah. There's going to be some Muso tendencies, so don't think it's not a Muso whatsoever, but... it leans more to that way in comparison. And it sounds like compared to Hyrule Warriors, there's going to be a lot more side stuff like the exploration and normal Persona, walking around and daily life type things.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I think there's no doubt I would enjoy this game 10 times more than Hyrule Warriors, but still, will I enjoy this game is the question. I mean, because I'll be honest, when I watched you play Hyrule Warriors, I'm so happy for you. So happy for you. That looks like one of the worst games I could think about playing. Like, I'll be honest. Like, every time I see you, I'm like, I was even like, I'm going to sit here and watch Jeff for a while. And I'll watch for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, I'm so bored. It's just like the same combat encounter over and over again, like the same moves and stuff over and over again. It just looks very tedious to me, and I just hate that type of game with a fiery passion. So like I don't expect to really like this game. Will it be enough for me to tolerate it? We'll see. That'll be the whole thing. I wish that a Persona 5 story expansion was in any fucking other game type rather than this, but whatever. Yeah, from what you're saying, it sounds like it might be. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You're going to love it. I have a very big question.
I'm getting this shit day one, baby. Let's go. Yeah, but as far as the platform I'm getting it on, I was thinking about Switch pretty much leading up, but then again, reading some people's impressions who have played the game, it's like, Switch Sports apparently doesn't really run very well. So I'm just going to get the PS4 and play on my PS5.
It's a trend.
Yep, which we may talk about later. Hint, hint. But yeah.
If I buy it myself, I'll buy it on PC, obviously.
Yeah.
But I might end up watching all of this. I might watch someone stream all of this, to be honest with you. We'll see.
We will see. But yeah, I'm excited for this. Just to, I guess, see how different this might be from Musa's. Again, just people saying it's more of an action RPG just across the board from what I've seen.
Yeah.
These are people who played a lot of Musa's.
Yeah.
And just action games in general. I'm be interested to see how much of it's going to, like, it's just reading some things, and I haven't looked too much into this game, partly because up to this point I was reading spoilers because I had Infinite Persona 5, and at that point I was like, I'm just going to wait till this game's actually announced for the West before caring about it. It sounds like it might just be a lot of kind of the structure of Persona 5, but when you go to Palaces, it's more of the action RPG gameplay than the turn-based gameplay. But the daily life stuff will not have confidants, that I know. Yeah, like you're not gonna have social sharing, which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I just it's gonna be I don't know. I just can't help but worry that this is a similar thing to Hyrule Warriors, where it presents itself as one thing, and you get in there and you don't really actually feel like you get the Persona experience. As someone who is actively not wanting it to be the game it is, I just worry that I'm gonna get in there and it's gonna be like it's gonna feel like a fun side story that's kind of whatever, rather than a meaningful like next chapter of Persona 5.
So a difference is, because it's definitely timely compared to Hyrule Warriors is just actual after. I mean, this game's out, so it's easier to kind of get an idea of what this is because a bunch of people have actually played the game, and just getting some, anecdotes and all that. For Hyrule Warriors, it seemed to definitely more. Zelda team was kind of overseeing it and kind of keeping an eye on things. I think I saw that Alex actually wrote the story for this compared to in Hyrule Warriors where Koei Tecmo wrote the story, but just some little oversight from the Zelda team. So that should hopefully help with that.
It's certainly a good sign for sure.
And just again, with based on what I'm seeing and hearing from Strikers, is it has a lot more Persona stuff injected into its base gameplay DNA compared to Hyrule Warriors, where it's just kind of little stuff, Zelda stuff inserted into it. So honestly, I like kind of a bummer. Just going back to Hyrule Warriors real quick, this has less the Zelda-esque stuff inserted into it, like general Zelda stuff, than the original Hyrule Warriors, because there are a bunch of items and stuff like you find in Zelda dungeons that you used for little puzzles and stuff.
Right.
This, instead of that stuff, you have the runes and stuff, which is great and everything for gameplay, but just that kind of thing. Where again, this kind of stuff with Strikers, we know you're going to do daily life stuff, and for Joker, you can fuse personas.
Yeah,
you still do that stuff. You can still get personas, which I'm curious how that works. Like, how does different personas influence the gameplay? Partly because I guess I don't know completely how the gameplay works. Is it just kind of, most of the basic attacks are, whatever character is using their melee weapons / guns in combos with maybe little stuff with the personas, or is the personas just mainly finishers or something like that, or is it for everyone but Joker? It's more the personas are more interjected into their combos because it's always going to be those personas,
right?
Where Joker's has some kind of weird mechanics that's his alone.
Yeah, I would feel like in a game like this, you have to incorporate the personas into more than just like a flashy.
Oh, I agree with you. I just don't know. I'm just wondering how that's going to work mainly for Joker, like I said, because it doesn't make sense not to do it for the other characters, but Joker, I'm just don't know. Yeah. Unless they're only like a limited amount of personas you can get, and they each kind of have slightly varying movesets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll pick a group of personas, and that will be, that I don't expect to have like a gigantic list of them.
But this game probably sucks because I know there's no Kasumi in this game, so
that's the bad timeline.
Yeah. But a weird thing is, I heard technically the story does not contradict Royal.
No, that's really weird.
So
So it'll be really weird if like Royal happened without Kazumi. Does that make any sense, Jeff? Does that make any sense?
No, it's like Royal can still happen with her there, but her not being in here kind of can still make sense.
They're fighting. Yeah, they argue.
I mean, let's face it. The story won't make sense to us because unless they literally ask at the beginning of the game, "Who's your waifu?" And the story is basically
it's not canon.
Yeah.
He's not being friendly enough with Makoto. It's not canon.
Yep.
Not Makoto. Yeah, I'm interested. February, it's a good time. It's after a lot of things. I'm sure it'll be right in the fix of a bunch of other stuff that we just don't know about,
I know there's a bunch of I named it to you the other day or whatever. I'm trying to remember. I know Mario's like right around it. And I forgot what the other thing was. Oh, it was another smaller game. I can't remember. That's not important right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. In the coming weeks after Game Awards, we'll do our look at 2021 episode.
And then our anticipated game list. I can't remember how we did that. We did those in the same episode? I don't know.
I'll have to go look.
It kind of makes sense if we do that, I guess.
We can do whatever the hell we want.
It's true.
It's our show.
We just go through it, decide what we want to buy, and then just do the list. And then that's just a podcast.
Yep. And Jeff puts the same game for 3 years straight when it keeps getting delayed. Some things are just tradition.
Yep. But the good news is, if pattern continues, my number one will release this year. But whoever I put number one next year will not make it next year.
No, absolutely
or
not.
Make it 2022.
Absolutely not.
Yep. Yeah. But a game that will make it next year, I assume. I don't know.
That's some confidence.
Well, they have a summer date, so I'm just going to assume it's not going to get delayed that much. But what the hell do I know? This quote's from Jordan Alleman from IGN. Square Enix has revealed a new game in the World Ends With You franchise titled Neo, The World Ends With You. Scheduled to launch in summer 2021 for PlayStation 4 and Switch. Neo, The World Ends With You is a 3D action RPG title, and its official description notes that players will be stepping into the shoes of Rendo this time around as they unravel the mysteries of the Deadly Reaper's game in a stylized Shibuya. Darby, did you hear this game is ripping off Persona 5?
I heard that people said that. Because someone didn't do their homework.
Persona 5, Infinite Shibuya. Who could have guessed?
Invented jazz fusion and anime.
Yep. I can't believe real life copied Persona.
Yeah. Then Japan owes Atlas some money.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, anyway, let's get to the game.
Yeah, I have to imagine that this is a series that you've like always wanted to play or something. But
yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, I guessed right. I guessed correctly.
Yes. Definitely been interested in this game. By the time I kind of learned what it was and everything, and found my love for Nomura, I kind of was already done with the DS.
Blossomed into his Nomura age.
So didn't play it. Then it got a re-release on Switch, but I've heard kind of mixed things about the actual port because the original one made great use of the dual screen on the DS. Yeah. That didn't seem to exactly carry over to the Switch. So we'll see how that goes. I want to try it at some point either way. Try to find some way to play it.
You bust out your 3DS.
Yeah.
When's the last time you touched that thing?
I don't even know where it is. I think I lost it.
I think I found mine in my parents' house the other day.
Nice. So yeah, there's definitely a departure from the original one. As I showed you right before that, I showed you trailers for both games. As someone who knows nothing about this series,
Yes,
absolutely nothing. The first one was a 2D kind of more side-scrolling thing, while this one is just a straight-up 3D action game.
Is it bad to say that I think just from a purely visual perspective of just watching a trailer and seeing the colors move with my eyeballs, I thought the original game looks prettier than the new game.
I think most people would agree with you.
Okay.
It's just at the moment, the fans of the original are just happy this new one exists.
Yes.
That's just a big thing. The people who don't know, this game is a cult classic in every sense of the word that didn't sell particularly well, and people are just shocked this game is going to get a sequel.
Yeah, and I think it's also just in general, low budget 3D looks worse than 2D, art style, just from a purely visual perspective. And it's obvious this does not have a high budget.
No.
Now, there are plenty of games out there that don't look very good, but gameplay wise, this could still end up being a good game, but definitely the art style is not quite as striking as the original, I would say.
Yeah, it's harder to implement that style from the original one to this, because going from the basic gameplay stuff to the cutscene-ish thing, it's looks more seamless. In here, you go to 3D to the kind of old style cutscenes where it's like a comic thing where they're kind of talking
a little more jarring when you go from the splash art, which is really good. I really love the splash art in both versions because they're mostly the same. But then the gameplay is in the new one where it's like, oof, that looks a little rough.
Yep. So
where are you at with? Would you jump straight into this one, or would you play the old
No,
one?
because I already learned one of the party members is someone from the first game.
Okay.
So I would definitely try the first one first.
Yeah.
And so this game instantly makes the original go up on my need to old game I want to play list.
Okay.
I was just hoping to maybe get a Black Friday sale to just go ahead and cop a copy. Because I think it's still $60 or whatever on Switch, or whatever the original price was. It may not have been 60. I don't know.
Square is kind of like Nintendo, or at least Square Enix Japan doesn't go down.
That's why Kingdom Hearts Melody and Memory is $60. The best way to do it, I don't know if you listen to the Writing Trap, is have your friend put in your mailbox.
Yeah, and then when you don't have to pay for it, apparently it's a goatee continue to you.
I didn't realize that he did that Brad put in his mailbox until late, and then later realized that Hubert didn't pay Brad for it. Brad just gave it to him. Apparently,
that's friendship.
That's based on what they said. That's what it sounded like.
That's friendship, right there.
So I'm gonna stick a copy in your mailbox.
Okay,
in our mailbox.
Cool. There it will stay. I'll take it out of the mailbox. That's about all I can promise you.
I'm not spending money on that game. I'm a Kingdom Hearts stan, and I'm not playing that shit.
I'll take it out of the mailbox and put it in your room. Be like, there you go.
Your computer's having a seizure, man.
It really is.
All right. So, yeah, I'm interested in this game. Probably hear more as we get closer, and I'll hopefully at some point be able to discuss. It's kind of, again, because the sequel's coming out, it's under Horizon as far as my backlog or
damn right it is.
Old games I want to try to play.
Damn right it is.
I guess depending on time, this might go first because this game's supposed to come out before Horizon 2.
No, sure, no.
Okay. Darby told me no.
I said no.
We will see. But if I had to bet money on it right now, I would say I never get to either of them. The world ends with you, not Horizon.
That's the spirit.
I gotta be honest with myself sometimes, but I'm gonna try. I want to, damn it. It screams my kind of game. Weird touch control stuff. Come on.
Nomura?
Yeah. I'm a Kingdom Hearts and Kid Icarus Uprising fan. That's like my shit.
Jeff will break his fingers doing this freaking thing with the stylus, but he'll have a good time, damn it.
Yep. Speaking of broken things, let's talk about Bioware. This comes from Jonathan Dorbush from IGN. EA has announced that Casey Hudson, the general manager of BioWare, and Mark Dara, the executive producer on the upcoming Dragon Age, will be departing the company. All currently ongoing projects, including Anthem Next, I forgot that was a thing, with an actual different name, the next Dragon Age, and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition remasters among them, will continue as planned despite the leadership shifts. Samantha Ryan will continue to oversee the studio, while Christian Daly, who joined BioWare from Blizzard, will now be leading the Dragon Age project as executive producer, with Matthew Goldman remaining as creative director on the project. And the Mass Effect collection will continue to be led by Mike Gamble, as that team also remains hard at work on the future of that franchise. This marks Hudson's second departure from BioWare after he first left the studio in 2014 and announced a new position at Microsoft in 2015. Hudson rejoined BioWare in 2017 when then GM Aaron Flynn stepped down. While the company searches for a new GM, Gary McKay, the Senior Director of Development Operations, will act as interim studio GM. A lot of names.
Lots of names.
So yeah, BioWare has a lot of big shake-ups and
BioWare problems.
Yep. This is a weird one with this, kind of big news for a big studio, but we don't have the love for them, so
no, yeah,
it's hard to say. But I think there is some stuff we can say as outsiders looking into this. BioWare needs some wins soon.
They really do, and this doesn't really. This seems like it sets them back even more during an already hard time.
Yeah, well, and it's like you wonder, is there some problems in here? Because I'm going to take this from the Easy Allies. I think it was Daniel Bloodworth saying it. It's like, okay, if it was just Casey Hudson or Mark Darr leaving on their own, it's like, okay, that's something. But two big people leaving at once is kind of brings a little. It
is weird because Casey Hudson already left once,
and
then came back, and it seemed like kind of came back for Anthem or for whatever. I mean, I don't really pay attention to BioWare that much, to be honest with you, but I know he came back like for a reason, for a thing. So it's not the biggest shock that he would. Like, he obviously wanted to leave and then came back to help things or whatever, and that he would leave again. But it's like both of them and just at this kind of pivotal time, because I would say, like, if he came back to try to help fix BioWare, that's not done yet. Like BioWare is at its, like, flexion point where it's like, I think generally the entire game industry kind of agrees BioWare can't really afford another flop like this. They need whatever they do next to be the real deal that like sees success.
Yeah, which we might see what that looks like, because it's been announced we're getting a next look at the new Dragon Age game at the Game Awards on Thursday. How much of a look? Is it still more Dev Diary shit, or are we actually going to see some actual gameplay? My money is probably a cinematic trailer.
Probably. Which, and Dragon Age is in such a weird spot where it's kind of been developed during this turbulent time. Like, it started development probably like before Anthem or during Anthem time, like when Anthem was still being developed. So it's like, and they had the weird thing where it's like kind of a live service game, but it's kind of not. It's like the messaging was weird with that, and then like studios have changed, studio heads have changed multiple times. All this, it's like, it's hard to imagine that project has just been smooth sailing this whole time. It's like,
and there's the whole thing where Mass Effect and dropping right before all that shit.
Yeah. Well, and just think about it from being a big top-down planner at BioWare. You're like looking forward to the next 5 years for your company was all about Anthem. Your plan was to have Anthem be something that you are like, that becomes the backbone of your company for the next 5 years at least. Or they thought that they were going to be like taking Destiny's spot and be like, this is just, people are never going to stop playing Anthem.
Printing money.
And that's pretty rough when that is your plan or whatever, and suddenly that is like halted before it ever gets started. Then it's like, okay, I mean, in the gaming industry, whenever you make plans, it takes years for them to come into fruition. So whenever they're messed up, it takes you that many more years to get back on track. And that's why like BioWare is kind of like, we don't know what's going on there, and it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to be super hopeful.
Yeah, it's a weird thing just looking at how part of an interesting thing is, again, someone who doesn't really care or have never played a BioWare game, is seeing like fans' reactions to stuff and just seeing how people react to things. Like, part of it's kind of weird seeing people so excited to seeing this Dragon Age game when, like, to us, it seems like they haven't had an actual like full-on win since Mass Effect 2, arguably Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, overall, again, Mass Effect 3 was controversial ending, but still a competent game.
Yeah.
It was like,
sold well and everything. Dragon Age, you got some awards and stuff, but it's not looked back upon fondly.
Yeah, Inquisition is another one that is like overall a good game, but I don't think people talk about it as a classic like the Mass Effect game.
Well, you look at anyone that's like a big game,
Sales.
like it won the Game of the Year award that year. Any other game that's won that award, we look back on more fondly than that game. Like you gotta we kind of remember it won because it's so weird that it won.
Right. Everyone forgets. If you're gonna forget one of the Game of the Year winners, it's 100%.
Should have been Tropical Freeze.
That or Bayonetta 2. I mean, it should have been Tropical Freeze, but even Bayonetta 2, like both of those.
That would have been Bayonetta 2. I don't think people shit on Tropical Freeze, and it's not right.
I mean, I've definitely seen the last few years. There's a lot of people are like,
yeah, they come around.
This is one of the best platformers of all time.
They come around. At the time, though, it was sad. It made me sad.
No,
the game's so good.
It's a bummer. I feel for Jerica, who's been on this podcast for a huge Bioware fan. I mean, it's if Capcom can pull this shit around, anyone can. That's what we always have to remember. It can always happen.
I mean, there's a chance for them just with the slate we know. They got the Dragon Age game. Who knows how that's going to go? I mean, again, we might get an idea this Thursday. Who knows? How much of a look? Anthem next. I don't have much faith in that one. It's like, but there's always the chance they could pull a No Man's Sky light at the very least. Yeah. I don't expect maybe a game to ever pull off what No Man's Sky did again, because that's just crazy.
No.
That's just a rare thing. But they could turn around somewhat.
And even No Man's Sky, I still don't think No Man's Sky is as popular now today as it would have been if it had everything it promised back then. Like I think there's a certain ceiling that No Man's Sky is never going to be able to get past because it's such an old game.
I agree with you, and I would say the exact same thing about Anthem.
Right. There's a ceiling. Yeah, Anthem can get to a ceiling, but that ceiling is well below what they wanted it to be, and I don't think it can do anything to get up to.
And they're working on a new Mass Effect game, which again after Andromeda, who knows? But
that could be the one of the things. But you talk about like that. That's the thing that could save them. That game's so far away. Yeah, like they're just starting a Mass Effect game. It's like it might be like right now. Like we always think about BioWare as one of the premier EA studios, which it still is. But it's kind of like it needs a win, or we're only going to be thinking we're going to be thinking of Respawn, which we already do. Respawn is above BioWare definitively right now. I think is like
after
a top tier
Wars,
EA.
Baby.
Apex and
Apex.
Wars.
Oh yeah, both those.
Even one of those would already been. But they're firing on all cylinders at this point. BioWare
goodbye from EA.
Yeah, BioWare needs a. I don't think BioWare is like in danger of being like people be clickbaity, but I don't think BioWare is like in danger of being sold off by
taken
EA
back in the back and shot.
Yeah, not yet. We're not at that point. I mean, just from IP alone. I mean, the Mass Effect could always come back and be huge. Yeah, this next Mass Effect game, if done right, could be huge again.
I mean, like you said, it's far away, but I think it's safe to say their timetable for success is probably that Mass Effect game. Like, if that comes out and doesn't do great, and the stuff before that is the same, it's like, okay, BioWare, we might need to talk about your future here.
Yeah, and I've always seen, even between Mass Effect and Dragon Age, I think they're both like popular enough, but I think Mass Effect is obviously way above Dragon Age. Like the Dragon Age game could come out and be really good, but it'll still be like, okay, great. But what about that Mass Effect? It's like all eyes.
Well, I think what will help a potential Dragon Age game, if it is really good, is it will kind of be seen to a lot of people as BioWare's comeback after, and that will mean something. Yeah. That will sell copies that alone.
And obviously, single player open world fantasy RPG still sell like crazy.
Yep. And who knows? If it looks good, I might give it a shot through Game Pass.
It's certainly the type of game that when the Inquisition came out, I thought it looked great for trailers and everything. It's my type of game. But
Darby, it's time for everyone's favorite segment. Everybody gets a TV show / movie.
Everyone gets a TV show but you.
Yep. But the world ends with you does get one.
It's getting an anime, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a TV show.
Yeah, it is.
Art style looks neat. I'm curious about it. Oscar Isaac is playing Solid Snake in the upcoming Metal Gear movie.
That's pretty good casting.
That's some damn good casting.
But as I also pointed out when Jeff mentioned that was a good cast, I was like, is there any movie that could say it has Oscar Isaac in it and it not be a good casting choice? I mean, he is a beautiful man and very,
Oscar
very
Isaac is Elsa. I don't know.
I'd watch it. Put me in the seat, butts and seats, man.
You would have to because of your nieces,
and I'll do it gladly.
Yeah. So, this happened, and what's kind of cool about this is Oscar Isaac early last year, mentioned in some interview thing for a movie that this was kind of a dream role. If like if you had to pick a role, it's like, yeah, that's Solid Snake.
He gives a shit.
Yeah. which doesn't always pan out, but we've had some success with that recently with this kind of stuff. We had, Deadpool's been a thing for a little bit. The Witcher.
Henry Cavill revolution. Yes. Times are changing.
Well, and I was reminded by Easy Allies that the director, writer, whatever the hell it is also, this is kind of a dream project for him as well. So you have a writer plus director, I forget which one he is, or if he's both, I don't know. And the lead actor, that this is just what they want to do, which is a good sign, and not just, oh, this is the paycheck, we got this thing, like, I don't know, Monster Hunter.
I think the next few years we're going to turn the corner on video game movies.
Yeah.
I'm starting to become more and more confident in movies and shows. With the Last of Us TV show, this, I don't have a ton of faith for the Uncharted thing, but that could be good. But at least those two, Castlevania has been really, really good.
And a couple of, obviously, I'm a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And there's been some leaked set shots of the Resident Evil movie.
You're right.
And there's just there's like 1-to-1 shots from stuff in the game. So it's just the fact they're doing these set pieces and stuff, and they are nailing that. It instantly makes that movie better than the old movies, which is a low bar. But
we're finally some of these old men making these decisions are finally starting to age out. We're finally getting some 30-year-olds who've been playing games their whole life and actually know the shit that they're making. Yeah. I think we're starting to get those in there. They're like, okay, I'm gonna actually do this shit right, not just that's the problem. With Witcher was the other way I was thinking of. I know it's not a video game direct thing or whatever, but a big part of why that show's being made is the video games, as far as popularity of The Witcher. And it's just it's amazing what happens when the people making the adaptation for something care about.
I mean, it's been a weird thing. There was a time where people kind of like video game stuff can't be good. It's just because we just didn't get that stuff. It's like, even then I kind of thought, but why can't it be good? Like, what makes it different than books and stuff being translated and just other stuff? There's no particular reasons. People just kind of we're kind of saying they can't give a shit and just made a generic thing.
No one had actually taken a good swing at it.
Again, I hate to kind of shit on one thing, but it is an example of a recent one or an upcoming one that's, in my opinion, doing everything wrong. In Monster Hunter, where all these stuff we're talking about seems to be doing what we want and doing it. But I'm very curious what this Metal Gear movie is going to be, because it's Metal Gear, so you can do a bunch of shit with it, and it still kind of fit the tone of Metal Gear. You can kind of do maybe a more serious espionage thing, or you can go wacky as hell. But at the same time, you need to lean on the wackiness a little bit, because how can you not have Psycho Mantis?
Yeah, I don't envy the Metal Gear out of all of these, because I think Last of Us TV show is a slam dunk.
With the lineup they have,
right. But I just mean, even we're going to make a live action Last of Us show. I think you can do that, and I can see how you can do that. And I not saying it's easy, but it's that makes sense. Metal Gear is hard, because even if you do it right or whatever, that can go wrong in so many different ways. Trying to nail that tone, that kind of serious but also wacky as fuck tone, with real ass people with real skin, that's gonna be a hard thing to do without making it seem weird as hell. It can be done. It can absolutely be done. It's just there's a
I think it was Nabel who posted this is the perfect casting for the Metal Gear movie. I was trying to remember what it says. I think it had
Steve Harvey.
It had Michael Cera, I think, for Psycho Mantis. And it had Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander in The Boys, as Liquid Snake. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do that.
Let's go, man.
Just Anthony Starr is an actor who just chews shoots and the scenery and all that stuff is just so good. I think he could pull that kind of thing off just as a Metal Gear role. So yeah, I have some interest in this movie. Like I definitely, as you're saying, having more hope as far as these movies in the future.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. I don't know if you've seen this, Darby. I should have told you to watch it.
Well, I've seen the pictures at least.
It's a little video thing.
Okay.
We're talking about Super Nintendo World, which is coming to Japan. Like
I won't
in
show
February.
the video because I'm sure Nintendo will take us down.
Yeah. Well, Dar's watching an ad for Sackbar at the moment. We have that game now, so look forward to it.
And we are going to stream that. So.
Yes. Look forward to that shit.
Hell yeah. What do you think about all
Darby,
that shit?
that's the actual park. That's just what it looks like. Let's go.
I have heard people say, and I can see it by looking at this. People said it's like deceptively small.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of just a portion of a park.
It is. It is. But
Which is still, it's still.
I mean, look at that statue.
It's still really fucking
the Bowser
cool.
statue.
It's still very cool.
Yeah.
I hope something like this just like comes to Orlando.
It is. I mean, they already announced it's coming to
Okay.
Orlando and whatever the California one, whatever.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely not like a full Nintendo park, at least not yet, but it's still really cool. Yeah, that's
I think it's supposed to come 2023 now to Orlando. Get pushed back because of COVID and shit.
Yeah, rough time to be releasing a
anything
theme park. Yeah, for people just living.
Yeah,
it's a rough time to live. Rough time to be a human.
So I'm excited because I've actually never been to one of these big theme parks. I've never been to Disney World. I mean, I guess I've been to Carowinds, and that's the extent of it. But I've never been to any of these. I want to go to this one that's coming out.
Yeah.
You know, try that out once it comes to Orlando. I mean, that's definitely close enough.
Yeah,
it is a bummer. Like as far as like hearing a bunch of influencers or whatever, we felt like Michael Damiani from Easy Allies, an example. He said he was considering flying to Japan when this happened originally, but obviously not doing that now.
Yeah,
or he probably can't anyway.
Right. Yeah, probably actually can't.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, it looks like one of those things that's like, I mean, it would not be a problem because like if we made that trip, we would do we'd be going all over Disney World and Universal and do all that. Like, I don't think that this is really enough to travel for just this. It just looks small enough to where I don't think you would feel fulfilled if you traveled all the way across the country or across the globe for just this. I would give it a few years and then it'll be crazy. But it's not like if we went, like I said, we went down there, we'd be doing this, Universal, all the Marvel stuff, all the
Oh, absolutely. I see it more as it would be the kind of like decision maker, like, okay, we'll do this now.
Yeah, that crosses you the okay, fuck. We'll do
let's do it. Let's have a fun time. Yeah. Plus, if it's like the Japanese shit, it'll have exclusive Nintendo merch.
Yeah. Oh, we would have a blast for sure. Yeah, I'm not trying to say we wouldn't.
Yeah. So,
pretty fun. I mean, Nintendo definitely has enough. So, I hope. I mean, I imagine they already have plans for it, but I hope they like expand past just Mario with all this because it says Super Nintendo World, but pretty much everything about it.
I'm trying to remember if it was just something that was talked about or if it was actual things, but I think there was some stuff where they talked about the potential of like Zelda and Pokemon.
Yeah, you gotta do at least those two.
Yeah, those are the ones that make the most sense as far as adding different franchises.
Those will be the next two. But.
Yeah. Well, Darby, you now know 2023. That's all you got to get your nieces into Mario.
Okay. Clock's ticking. You gotta go.
There'll be 5, or 5, 6.
I keep trying to get them into Mario, but they just want to play F-Zero. They just love that F-Zero.
Yes. Everyone loves that.
That's my goal, is to get Erica to go as Captain Falcon for Halloween. That's my life's goal now.
Okay. Boy. Yes. We got the PS5 sales stuff from the UK. I'm not going to read all of this, but generally speaking, it is the PS5 in the UK has broken records and beat the PS4's record as the best-selling console within the first 48 hours. Also important to and it beat Xbox, the Xbox X and Series S. So to give a little bit of numbers, we just know the PS5 beat the PS4. The PS4 sold 250,000 units, so we just know it's more than that. And we know the Xbox X and Series X sold 155,000 units on their first day. Also kind of important to note, again, we don't have exact PS5 numbers. it sold as much as they did because they just completely sold out.
Right.
So it would just sell more if they didn't have those problems. Usually I don't do just UK numbers, but since this is about the only main thing we have for the new console numbers,
yeah, kind of
just kind of showing like, okay, this is probably the trend where PS5 probably has sold more the first initial thing as PS4, like even in the US, as long as they have the actual supply.
Yeah, it's weird because the PS5 was obviously like all online. There was no like in person like
or very very limited
stores. Yeah, so it's like, did they have more or less than they normally do for a console launch? I don't
no
really
idea.
know. I could see it being arguments for either one. I mean, because they're kind of just shipping them out straight from the factory, no middleman for a lot of this stuff or whatever. You know, like, I don't know. It's interesting, but in the grand scheme of things, gaming gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every year, so it kind of makes sense that this is just going to keep selling out more and more.
I keep on trying to get a PS5 for my boss so he can give it to his son for Christmas, and it's so hard to get that thing. Like, it's more like I'm just so lucky I got my machine in there when I did.
Even people I work with talk about like trying to get it for their grandkids or kids or husbands and stuff or whatever, and then no one can get a hold of it. Like, I think this thing is going to be hard to get a hold of well into next year.
So glad you got it. I just don't have to worry about it anymore.
I'm so glad I just have Cyberpunk, so I don't care. As soon as I get Cyberpunk, it just won't.
And then Ratchet and Clank comes out, it's released quickly, and you're like, now you're sweating like, oh god.
That will be when you see me actually really.
Man, like I gotta like, it's interesting thinking about like you saying like people getting them for their grandkids, these quote unquote normies.
Yeah,
and stuff like my boss and his wife and everything trying to get this is like. They're trying to do this, and I'm having trouble getting it now. And I have Warriors 64 tweets.
Oh yeah, you're
blowing up on my phone.
Yeah, you're way more locked in than they are. So.
Yeah, so I know more when like it's a weird thing when there's like, at one point, I guess for context, I've known my boss's wife my whole life. So, she texted me like, "Hey, they're going to be on sale at Walmart at like 11. Can you try to get it for me?" I was like, sure. I was thinking at the time, like, I did not get a Wario ping, so I doubt this.
Yeah.
There are those
I trust Wario.
The thing is, it's a weird thing, and there's times when I talk to people that I know aren't as dimed in as we are, when they say something like, I know this is false, but I don't want to sound like a smart ass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or sound like an ass.
Oh, yeah.
When I know this isn't. But I tried anyway because there has been a time or two that she, I guess, heard from someone or they got like an email or something they Warrior didn't get. But that time, no consoles went on sale.
Yeah. Which
is a shame. Speaking of things that sell a lot, or I guess make a lot of money, I guess they don't technically sell shit. I guess they sell consoles. Fortnite. We got some interesting developments. It's got some new skins in there, Darby. We don't normally talk about skins, but these are just kind of interesting. Kratos.
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Yeah. Kratos is now playable in Fortnite right now on all consoles.
Including your Xbox One. I've seen the pictures of an Xbox with Kratos and the Sony logo at the bottom of it. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's an odd thing.
Definitely weird.
I think it shows that. Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh no! Like when that was first leaked ahead of time or wherever it was, it's like, will it be on non-PlayStation stuff? Because I could have seen it being like if you had pointed a gun to my head at that point, I probably would have said it would have been Sony exclusive. It would have been weird because crossplay, But
Sony is usually weird about this type of stuff, but I think this shows just how big Fortnite is, and I do think Fortnite is... I mean, again, you might not like Fortnite or whatever, but it's objectively, Fortnite is like one of the premier reasons why we have crossplay. Yeah. It was one of the biggest driving factors behind that. It's the reason why like we're now having like some of these walls are starting to come down. You have Marvel and DC stuff in this game. You have Xbox and PlayStation stuff.
Yeah, just throw it out there.
PlayStation stuff on Xbox in this game. Fortnite is so big that it's like if Sony's like, can we put Kratos in the game? Fortnite, Epic's like, we're putting them everywhere. If you don't want them everywhere, then don't. No, we're not going to waste our time. It's like they have this way in this. That's how big of a deal Fortnite is.
Yeah, they at least for Kratos did for PlayStation. It's like, you get an extra like little skin thing. I have no idea what that looks like or how different
as like the character, the Kratos is still on Xbox. That's not something that would have happened in any other.
Well, I guess also then this hasn't been officially confirmed or know how it's done, but Master Chief is apparently also coming. That means Master Chief on PlayStation
fighting Kratos.
Yeah, it's fighting.
You can have Master Chief.
You can have Master Chief fight Kratos, fight Batman, fight Patrick Mahomes.
It's like, how can you be cynical about Fortnite? Yeah. Listen to that.
Yeah.
Like, this game is cool as hell. If you were a little kid, I totally understand why this game is as big as it is. It's a giant playground.
Yeah.
It's great. There was a fucking Travis Scott concert. I mean, I know we don't care about Travis Scott because we're old, decrepit old men, but how fucking cool is that? Yeah. I mean, this game is...
Well, and the whole Galactus thing.
Yeah. This game is unprecedented in just the, level of access it has to, pop culture in general. And just Tenet,
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's so crazy, just... Partly because of all the fucking money they have, but they're just willingness to do these one-off things, like the Travis Scott costume, the Galactus thing, the Tenet thing. Those are one-time things that if you weren't there, you just don't get to see that content.
And that's kind of cool. It builds this aura about the game where it's like, oh, something's happening. You better get in. You better get in right now, which is very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it says something about it when. We don't play the game. We generally don't care about it, but at least every couple of months, we're mentioning it in a headline like this.
Yeah, I think it's one of the coolest games to come out in multiple years, even though I don't care about it at all. But it's like, you got to stop and check yourself with this type of thing. Just so you don't enjoy it. It's insane. Yep. And think about being a kid right now. What if you didn't know about something that was happening or whatever? You're playing and that whole wormhole thing happens or whatever, and then the next day you're talking to your friends I was just playing in a match and then suddenly the entire world started falling apart. That's cool as fuck.
Yeah,
that's an experience that you had that your friend can't get. And that's something that you just have. Or I was playing, I fought Galactus. It was you didn't have, you missed out. I mean, that's a
fucking nerd.
Thing. That's a fun thing. It's a really fun. And I think Fortnite, we're going off on the Fortnite tangent, but I'm passionate about this. Fortnite, I think a lot of other studios, even if they had made Fortnite and Fortnite took off and got really successful there at the beginning, a lot of other companies would not have been able to, from that point, carry Fortnite to what it is now, because a lot of studios would have been way more restrictive of oh no, we have to keep an identity of this game. We can't have all this wacky stuff in this or whatever. We have an identity. Epic's no, we are going to be a pop culture phenomenon. Everything is welcome. The doors are open for everyone with this. Marvel, DC, whatever the hell we want to do.
Well, it's probably being able to talk to people, talk to NFL to allow your football players to get...
Yes, NFL stuff in here. It's and that's how Fortnite becomes more than just a video game. That's just where you hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
And that's where just all of pop culture exists in Fortnite. And nothing is weird in Fortnite. Anything can go into Fortnite and it's not weird anymore. And that's strong. That's something that's very powerful.
It's weird that the strangest thing that I've seen for Fortnite recently is the fact that now that the generic blonde guy, I know his name's Jonesy or some shit, he now has a voice. He's voiced by Troy Baker.
Of course he is.
Yeah, and I guess there's now an actual storyline going on. He's a secret agent or some shit.
That's funny.
And... I guess spoiler alert for Game Awards, Jeff posted this. He got a little box from Agent Jones, which is apparently it's just the Fortnite guy. So this is good. So Jeff's continuing the whole thing. Fortnite's going to be there. Among Us is going to be there. I think Fall Guys is also going to be there to get all the big shit.
Oh shit!
All that craziness. I'm curious what he's going to have for Fortnite after all this shit. It might be Master Chief because that hasn't technically been officially announced yet. Which I guess maybe mentioned Master Chief's going to be there. I can't
Phil
remember.
Spencer announcing Master Chief.
Yep. So I'm curious. Is Nintendo going to join the party?
They should. If they were smart.
I saw some people as far as grouping these characters, Kratos, Master Chief, Samus.
Yeah, they absolutely should.
Mm-hmm. Or they could easily go in someone else other than Samus.
Gotta get the kids in on this shit.
Yep. But Darby, obviously for us, because we're fucking nerds, we saw this and we're also this increases the chance of a Sony character in Smash.
I was telling Jeff, it increased it by 0.00001%, but there was It ticked up.
Yeah.
It was you can't even tell.
Here's the very important thing. Kratos is now playable on a Nintendo console.
It is. Again, we're just a little way closer.
So even Sakurai's very weak rule, Kratos gets that check.
He's eligible.
He's eligible.
He is eligible. He's it, baby. Eligible.
I mentioned the Darby. It'd be the coolest announcement ever if they did the Fortnite announcement, and they do announce Master Chief there, and Kratos is in the trailer, and then Sam is also announced there, and then it just does a weird flip art style change into Smash, and Kratos and Master Chief are announced at once.
That would be incredible. There would be like a weird thing where it's like, so is Fortnite guy coming now? Because it's like there's a tie-in with Fortnite with this trailer. So what's going on?
Fair enough, but still. Yeah, Kratos and Master Chief.
Wild.
Yep. Break the internet. That's how they do it.
Yep. Oh boy.
Yep.
All right. Well, speaking of Nintendo, let's have a short main topic, kind of talking about something we brushed on earlier.
Darby, you said the forbidden word
all year. But what?
You said the forbidden word short. Ready for an hour?
Yeah. Strap in. I mean, people could already look at their podcast feed and be like, "Yep, well, that didn't work out for them." You know?
Nope.
They can tell what's going to happen. I feel like it won't be super long, just because
I know.
this is something we've been talking about all year, but I'm interested to hear your perspective and to potentially tell me why
off the ledge.
Yeah, off the ledge. Tell me why I shouldn't be as worried as I am. Which I honestly don't know how you feel about a lot of this stuff, but I feel like this has been the case since before. Since basically the launch of the Switch, but I feel like it's getting more and more and more the case that the Switch is underpowered.
Yes.
We all know the Switch is underpowered. They've been able to make third-party games work on the Switch to a satisfactory degree up until around end of last year. Started getting, Outer Worlds is apparently just terrible on Switch.
It's true.
Witcher looks like a potato. It runs, but it looks like a potato. There's other things like that, but we're really starting to get to the point where it's like even games that I was saying yeah, I'm gonna get Immortals Phoenix Rising on Switch. Of course I will. It's like this Breath of the Wild style game. I'd love to play that on the go. Then we get here, it's like, oh, that looks really bad. And from what everyone said, it's like it doesn't run very well. And I'm like, okay. That's surprising because that's not the most graphically intensive game, and even that's starting to struggle. And then the thing that really got me kind of despairing about the Switch or whatever. And again, I want you to talk me away from it, but when I saw Dragon Quest XI, I was running it on my PC or whatever, and I was like, I was still contemplating on which system do I want to play this on, and I would love to have it on the go. Let me just boot up the Switch demo that I was already a part of the way in, and I was like. I was kind of blown away by how bad it looked. And it was very unresponsive. It was very I would move the stick and it was a big delay on it. It literally looked like I was looking at the game through a screen door. It looked bad. Really bad. Mm-hmm. And again, Dragon Quest XI, very pretty game, but it's not a
powerhouse.
Yeah, it's not a big powerhouse game like that. Should I be worried? Should I be really worried? Because I think the way that I mentioned this before is I think that the more games like this happen and the more bad experiences people have at buying, because these games are still coming out on Switch, they're just running.
Doom Eternal, I think, just launched.
And the more times that people have a Switch and buy these games and they run like shit and they spent $60 on it, I think that animosity does bad things for Nintendo and the trust kind of gets lost. You just stop buying games on Switch because it's well, I've been burned 3 different times. It's should I not be worried about that?
Yeah. It's just a weird thing. It's depending who we're talking about potentially doing that, because as far as enthusiasts like us, it's not a new thing for Nintendo as far as just the big AAA third-party ports just being lesser versions. For example, the Wii U. At the beginning of the Wii U life cycle, it got a couple late big third-party ports that are just notoriously bad. So it's just this kind of going back to that. I guess it depends if it... I think it definitely will get to the point, and I something I kind of saw coming just at a point, because as the new generation started and as we get further in, there's going to be that power gap to where it's just kind of implausible to do that. And on one hand, there are some things like Immortals, like you said, which probably should do better. As someone who's obviously not a developer, I don't know how much of that is potentially different between the Switch or just Ubisoft work on it. It's probably mostly the Switch, but ports seem to vary. Like even like you were saying with Witcher, it seems like, yes, it's definitely a downgrade, like unquestionably.
Very big.
But I've seen people like it in general. To the very least, it's not visually it's down, but as far as it runs, it seems to be
functions.
Better than Outer Worlds, which is unless they patched it, which I don't think they did. It's just they should actually not sell that.
Right. I don't know. I guess that's my problem is, like, so far it kind of seems like they're taking the just cheap make money now option of, like, this game does not run on our system, is not prepared to run on our system, but let's just go ahead and put it out and, like, get people to buy it, because the people like will make the money off of it or whatever. It won't run. Those are going to be unhappy customers, but we got their $60. We're good in the short term. I just feel like that's not a very long-term strategy, because I just feel like you get a lot of people, especially with new consoles, you're really excited about your new PS5. I mean, I will even admit, my Switch is collecting dust right now. I haven't really played anything since Shantae. I know I'm a cranky gamer who doesn't like a lot of things, but there's a lot of third parties that I would love to buy on Switch that I'm just not going to anymore.
Well, some of that stuff, like you were saying, like, I don't know if this is what you meant, the way you made it sound like Nintendo is putting out these third-party ports. It's kind of like they're not really putting out that, like, at some point, some of it, like how these games run, is deciding what gets put on the Switch, or as far as these games coming out, it's on the actual third-party developers themselves.
But I mean, it's kind of just one of those things that, regardless whose decision it is, it affects Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, and it still ultimately comes back down to a quality control perspective of Nintendo, like allowing something on their platform that just doesn't run and just can't function or whatever. But even if you take all blame away from Nintendo, the thing is, like, as a consumer, you still start saying, I'm not going to buy this on Switch. So that still, like, becomes a, like, you still start getting, like, kind of burnt. And I could definitely especially see some people who don't know the industry as well as, like, us or whatever, getting to the point where, like, they're just like, well, nothing runs on my Switch. I keep buying FIFA, I buy all these other things on Switch, and never runs. So I'm just like, screw this thing, you know, not buying these, like, third parties or whatever on the Switch anymore. And I don't know, I just, like, feel like that's kind of where the Wii got in some ways, where it's like, you know, these games are coming out on the Wii. Why on God's green earth would you buy them on the Wii? Why would you do that? And I feel like the Switch is getting more in that direction than I would have liked for it to, you know. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the Nintendo first party, I mean, we've seen them do incredible things on the Switch hardware. With, you know, I think Odyssey is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen in my life. Like, they can do some wizardry on that system, and I'm not super worried about what they do first party, but just the healthiness of the system, because it's selling so many units, so they want to get the biggest of the biggest games on the Switch. But especially when now we get into next gen, that's just not going to work. Yeah. I guess the other part of this is, do you think this means we will get one and that we need a Switch Pro?
I feel like the more, like, I feel like if we get I don't think a Switch Pro is necessarily a bad thing, no matter how you do it.
Because, I mean, my answer is it doesn't matter, because you already have this many Switches in the wild.
Yeah, it's kind of that.
So
but
unless you're going to cap the, like, make exclusive games, which is going to make people like me angry,
yeah,
it kind of doesn't matter. Yeah. So
I was
mostly saying that rhetorically, but
yeah. Well, mainly what I was going to say is, we're at the point now where if it doesn't come out, or at least announced in this next coming year, I don't think there's going to be one. There are a bunch of people, like, that we listen to that just seem to assume there is going to be a Switch Pro, and like we need it now. Like especially when Hyrule Warriors came out, and it doesn't run great. Like there's a bunch of problems you can point out with that.
Quite a bit,
yeah. But people seem to assume that it's coming out. Not necessarily the case. We got in some reports of it, but I don't know. Some of them don't feel it's concrete. But if they announce the Switch Pro tomorrow, I'm not going to be like, what? But I think if we don't get one by this time next year, like an announcement, or probably even the console stuff, like I don't think it's going to happen, because at that point they're probably just going to release the Switch 2, because it's going to be 4 years this March that the Switch has been out.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the point where we're not looking at the update for this console. We're looking at just the new console.
I agree, which is weird, but I mean, it's been longer than it feels like, I guess. But that's. It's also like, I don't know what you do if you're Nintendo, because your current console is also still selling gangbusters. It's still selling like crazy. So I mean, is it weird? This feels like Wii trajectory to me. I mean, like maybe I know it's not like shackled to the gimmick thing like as much as Wii was, but it feels like it's becoming the hot commodity item and selling and selling and selling and selling. But the industry, the games themselves are kind of leaving Nintendo behind. And like with the Wii, it just got to a point where it's like, sure, you have a lot of people that have Wiis, but you don't have anything that they want to play, or you don't have people actually buying the new things on your system.
So I think a big difference between this and the Wii and is mainly, I feel like, I know people might disagree with me, I feel like they're pumping out, just Nintendo is doing more as far as releasing games that they're kind of publishing or whatever, compared to like the later part of the Wii. I just remember wrong. Also, just a big fact is, even if it's not the big AAA third parties, there are a bunch of third party games that people prefer to play on the Switch and indies that do run, and that's just been a frequent thing. I feel like part of the reason that we might look at it and like looking at all these third party ports and like, oh, they're just getting worse or whatever. I think it's partly two factors. Is one, well, because the games are just, now the systems are more powerful, so it makes sense that they're going to want to work on the Switch. And also because now that the Switch is successful, more actual third parties these big third parties actually coming out. So we have more games we're looking at. It's like, this isn't great. Where like earlier in the thing, we just didn't get them.
Yeah, it's just like you said, those two lines are going up. How graphically demanding these are and how much people want to be on the Switch. And just those two things at a certain point do not work together. It's like, I don't know. And I think we've crossed that line. We're just still getting the games. That's the problem. Like I guess at some point you stop getting the games. But like right now,
again, here's the weird thing. I feel like the bigger AAA thing, like Outer Worlds probably shouldn't have been put on there anyway. Yeah. Witcher was a questionable one because again, people seem to like how it won, but it came out then, and it's hard to compare that to other ones because that is a 2015 game. But the weird one is Immortals, where even compared to recently released games, that one's just the bigger one that like, oh yeah, this should work. People weren't pointing to like other Ubisoft games like Watch Dogs Legion and Valhalla, because those aren't going to run unless they try the cloud thing. That one just looked like it was going to work from an art style standpoint, and it obviously doesn't have as big of a budget as the other ones. So I hate to be this way, but part of me makes me wonder if how much of that is, what's the mixture between Switch and just the developer, like the actual port job to it,
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some of both, but you even see some with like, there's several developers who have like said they were going to be on Switch and then had to pull that back because it seems like it's a lot of work to downgrade your game enough to be on the Switch. I mean, like that's
apparently for Dragon Quest 11, it involves you making a whole new version of the game, which is now the standard.
So weird. Like, I don't know. I just like, I mean, maybe part of it is I got my new PC this year and I'm like playing games in way higher frame rate and everything. I'm spoiled now and everything, but like I'm finding myself
PC dork.
I'm at my most bummed I've ever been about the Switch now, and since I bought it, like this is the most I've felt like trepidatious about buying anything on the Switch, or just like I'm just not playing anything on it, and I'm just like, Not that I regret the purchase. I played so many great things on the Switch, but I'm just like not feeling Switch excitement at all right
Well,
now.
I think that's definitely fair for you, partly because there's been no Nintendo game you wanted to play this year.
That's another big part, I'm sure. When Breath of the Wild comes out and shit like that. But the Switch, I think, is going to be a system that I play a few times a year, and it sits unused the rest of it, and it's a little bit of a bummer. But
I think what also kind of hurts your potentially playing of it is there going to be games like, I don't know if it's on like, let's say Haven or Spiritfarer or stuff, those kind of indie games that you might be interested in that are on Switch that normally that would be your go-to place play it, but those are in Game Pass. So then those games are taking away your indie time.
Yeah.
When, Shantae wasn't on Game Pass, but you wanted to play it, so it's like, oh, of course I'm getting it on Switch.
Yes. Yeah, and that was still great. Like that type of game is still like perfect on Switch. I played Shantae all in handheld, and it was great.
Yeah, I know you've done that most of the way with Hades.
Yep. And Hades is a good example of like a borderline. Like I've gotten like some frame rate stuff. It's obviously a worse experience on Switch, but not by enough to where it matters that much. Where it doesn't outweigh, but.
The actual way you play the Switch outweighs the performance hits.
Yeah, for me.
For your enjoyment. That sounds like it's a case for a fair number of people.
Yeah, I'm not too doom. Obviously, Nintendo's fine. They have a lot of things. Even if it's just Nintendo games from here on out, they're probably fine, even though, obviously, in the past, they haven't been able to sustain themselves. The Wii and the Wii U kind of both ended up
now,
failing towards the end.
Let's don't say they sustained themselves and put the Wii U in there.
Well, no, I'm saying that as an example. They didn't. I'm saying both the Wii and the Wii U at the end of their life cycle, they very much did not sustain themselves because obviously the Wii ultimately, overall in the grand scheme of things, is a success. But it was in a bad place at the end of it. I mean, like no one gave a shit about the Wii by the end of it. So
well, I think part of that was no games were being released for it from a third party perspective. Besides shovelware, and Nintendo kind of was stopping towards the end. I feel
like we're kind of we are heading for that future on the third party side with Switch. I think at some point it's just not going to be feasible anymore for a lot of the third party support to be there outside of indies, which is very good, but it's just like from a commercial standpoint, that's not exactly what you need. And I think Nintendo at their best is able to keep that ship afloat by themselves. But Nintendo is not always at their best, and we've seen them at their best and then go to their worst, and then go back to their best and then go back to their worst. So we've seen them fluctuate up and down. Even this year has been a pretty fucking empty year for Nintendo. And it's like, I just don't, they can't afford to do this too often.
Yeah.
And they are one studio. Like, Sony is not responsible for keeping itself afloat by themselves. And if they were, they'd be in trouble. They don't make enough games for that.
No.
Microsoft is the same way. Nintendo's in a very weird certain situation where they are like their own lifeguard. Like they have to like keep themselves afloat by themselves, which is a very hard thing to do when you're not, Yeah. So trepidatious about Nintendo, but I will never predict. I'll never pretend to be able to actually predict what's going to happen with that company because who fucking knows.
Yeah, we were saying like the Switch had a very light year, but it's breaking records. It's breaking records left and right. Is. I mean, just one of those games kind of helps lead the charge, and then a couple kind of smaller things. But
yeah, again, right now I think the Switch is fine. I just worry about the end of its life cycle. That's mostly what I just project forward, and I feel like they're going to have a game plan because they can't just coast. I feel like if they just coast, this is going to coast downward.
I'm very curious what we're looking for, like what we're going to be looking forward to going into or at the start of next year for Nintendo because as far as we don't have anything. I mean, I know
have jack shit.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason I kind of said it that way is because technically, as far as like Switch exclusives, we have Bravely Default 2, we have No More Heroes. Again, it's very small things. I understand in the grand scheme of things, but at least normally we have something like, I don't know, Animal Crossing type thing. Yeah. Just one kind of biggish game. That
we haven't had the Nintendo announcements all year. We've basically had a year almost free of them. Paper Mario.
So that's kind of, just the more I kind of think of, the more like it makes sense at the very least. But it's Nintendo, us getting like a Bayonetta or the Breath of the Wild 2 announcement like Game Awards, so they have something for people to look forward to into next year. But who the hell knows?
I hope. You know how many events we've said this year that like, oh, Nintendo's gonna have something. Nintendo has to have something. Yeah, we'll see.
And then they drop Monster Hunter Rise on a random Tuesday or some shit.
That fucking company, I just don't understand. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this. Mr. Yeet 60,000 asked if we work out. Do you work out, Jeff?
No.
You don't bench? You can bench me right now if you want. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in this Thursday, December 10th at around 6 or 6:30 p.m. at twitch.tv/NerdSalesGaming. See my beautiful face, and then later on his beautiful face as we react to all the video games.
And I try to catch up on whatever shit I missed when I wasn't here.
Gordon Freeman is in Smash Bros.
and in Fortnite.
And in Fortnite. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.